Hello everyone, welcome back. I am DarcyBits. We are back with Urza's AI, Urza's Artificial Intelligence, and today we are looking at the deck builder once more. And the goal is to build ourselves an entire new fake AI-generated set. I've looked a little bit at different sets. They have different numbers of cards. It's not super consistent, so I'm not too worried about being exact, but our goal is to forge 300 cards. And in the process of doing so with the deck builder, there's always a chance that you're going to get a card that is a duplicate of another card. It's actually really cool that it can do that. I love that about the deck builder, but we don't want that for now because we want unique cards. And there's also always a chance that a card will come out at the end and it just will be non-functional by the rules of Magic. So when I say a card is broken or I say a card is unplayable, I am not referring to its power level. I'm not like, that card is so too good, we can't run it. Or that card is so too weak, we can't run it. No. We are letting the AI do whatever it wants when it comes to power level. We are only going to be weeding out the cards that are functionally useless. And I don't just mean like vanilla, like not even useless, like detrimental. They do not function per the existing rules of Magic the Gathering. So, how are we going to do this? Well, we're using the Urza's deck builder. If you haven't been there, it is at the bottom of the normal urzas.ai website, or you go to urzas.ai/deck. We're going to go to our advanced options, and we're going to basically ignore all the stuff up here. You can put a name in, you can put the colors in, you can choose the type of deck. We don't care about any of this. We don't care about any of that, and it's not going to affect us either, because it doesn't actually look at these numbers once the JSON has been populated. So we go to advanced options. We can see we can change the stability versus creativity. We're going to ignore that. We're going to leave it as the default. It's just simpler to keep things consistent that way. And we need to put in our code here. Now, I always forget exactly what the code is, so I will actually be generating the start of a set, but I'm going to immediately stop the forging process as soon as the deck JSON has been populated, because I don't actually want that. I just want to see the format. So we are going to be making a set, and I'm going to call it Slivers of Ravnica. Now, there's a few reasons I want that. I think it would be fun to have a Slivers-themed set, but also because if you just throw a name at the deck builder and don't give it any other information, it will probably give you a pretty narrow band of colors. Probably 2 or 3 colors, depending on how many cards you're forging. So, actually, I have previously on my own time attempted building a set using Urza's AI before, and that set came out of 300 cards, 100 were white, and I think 50 were black, and then the rest were the other 3 colors. So it was a very, very poor distribution of color. So we're going to try and avoid that. Now we can't tell the AI make red cards, make blue cards, make green cards, etc. But we can influence them, and we will do so by having the name not just be Slivers of Ravnica, it'll be Slivers of Ravnica Rakdos. And we will do this for every single guild. This is the reason why I want to call it Slivers of Ravnica, because I'm a little worried that even though it's really, really useful to be able to say Rakdos, and the AI goes, oh, I know, that's black-red. I'm worried that it will also influence the decision-making of the AI, and we'll end up with Ravnican-themed cards. And as such, I'm just going to head it off and lean into it. So we're just going to actually have the, what if Slivers showed up in Ravnica? What does that set look like? Well, we're going to find out today. So, Slivers of Rakdos will be our first one. And we don't need... Sure, we can say these colors, but it doesn't actually matter. We're going to hit Forge, and then we're immediately going to stop it, because we don't actually want to generate these cards. You can see the way that the deck builder is set up, it will give you automatic mana cost and stuff like this. And this is a template that was made by humans, which is then being populated by AI. So we don't want that. We're ignoring that entirely. We are going to remove the mana cost and the creature type fields. And we're simply going to use the deck name field, which is Slivers of Ravnica Rakdos. And we will copy that. And we will go all the way to the bottom. We don't need any of this. Okay, I didn't copy it properly, apparently, because I don't have the curly bracket. Okay. And we will change this from Rakdos to the next one. I have a list somewhere to make sure that I get all my spelling right and all that good stuff, which I think I actually closed that now that I'm thinking about it. Where did I put it? There it is. Ravnic and Guilds. So let's actually do them in this order just to be consistent. The first one is Azorius. These are not just alphabetical. I have no idea what order this list has them in, but I'm going to use it to take out as much human interference in this AI-generated set as possible. Azorius. The next one being Dimir. Did it again. Copy, paste. We will change Dimir to Rakdos. Okay, I'm just making extra work for myself. Dimir. We can say Gruel. Now, this will not guarantee that the cards are like multicolor. It basically will randomly decide if it wants to be multicolor, red, or the colors they made up of. But I've also seen cards generated this way where the AI is like, I'm going to make you a Simic card even though I asked for Golgari, right? Like, there is not a hard thing. This is to influence us to hopefully get a more consistent distribution. This is not for firm distribution. This is for nudging the AI. And I care a lot about, for some reason, I don't know why, like keeping the purity of the AI being part of the set. This is an AI set. If I simply like used the AI to generate 1,000,000 cards and chose the best 300, then I've basically made a set using AI as a tool to help me. It is not an AI-made set, in my opinion. That is my opinion about it, so this is something that I am trying to influence, but not have too much of a hand on it. Otherwise, it's gonna feel like cheating somehow. I don't know why, but it will. Urza. Okay. And as long as I'm telling you what the rules are and I'm being transparent about them, I feel like I'm not, you know, what's the word? I can't think of it. You know that old thing about the like fake chess computer where it's actually a person inside of a box controlling the pieces, and they pretend it's a computer that did it? It's like, I'm not trying to, you know, fool anybody. I'm not trying to be like pretend that an AI did something that it didn't do. I'm just going to be giving it a signifier to hopefully steer it a little bit. It goes into Golgari. Okay. And then Boros and Simic. Boros. Oh, I didn't do that right. And lastly, Simic. Now, if you don't keep the formatting right, you're going to end up with some issues. You got to be using these curly brackets. You got to be using a comma in the right spots. And at the end of the whole thing, there's not a comma after the last card and the close bracket. So you have to make sure you cut that once you start copying these. But we have one of each here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I don't know how well you can see it, actually. Is it cut off? It's a little cut off. There we go. And I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it 5 times? 5 times. Could I make 300 cards in one go? I could. And would that be problematic? Probably not. I would like to, A, save some time by having 5 tabs making cards at the same time. But also, I would like to just basically let the AI sort of take a step back and say, you are not making a deck. You are making a set of cards, so just make 60 at a time. So we're going to make 60 cards, and we're going to do that 5 times, and that'll be our 300. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's not right, is it? Why did I do that? That is inaccurate. Let's try this again. Okay. We've got our 10 guilds. We've got our first 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. We remove our comma, we add a square bracket, and this should, if we hit this update JSON button, which you can't see, there it is, update deck from JSON string, we should see it reloads the cards. From there on, we simply need to click on each one. This obviously takes a little bit of time. I like using page down to quickly move through them. So I'm just going to do this. That's it. Like there's really nothing to it. Make sure that when you click on them, you see that healthy glow. If you don't see it, it means you sort of like, I don't know. You see right there, I clicked on this card, but it didn't take for some reason. Make sure you're actually firmly clicking. I don't know what's up with it, but sometimes you'll sort of skim off of it in a weird way if you're going too quickly. So just be aware of that. That can happen. And honestly, even though this is 60 cards, it doesn't take that long. It really doesn't take that long, especially if you're used to forging them individually. Trying to forge 300 cards one at a time would be such a pain. But not only would it be annoying, it has more user input, right? I would be naming each card. I guess I wouldn't have to. You don't have to name each card, right? But at that point, there's no user input, and it becomes even less interesting to me. Like, sure, I could just say AI make me 100 cards, and I could do that. I could say make me 100 cards, and would that matter if I'm not saying make me 100 cards fitting this theme? Like, sure, I could do that. So now we're gonna Alt Tab. I already have the other tabs here, and I've already assembled the JSON. You can sort of peruse that if you're worried that it's different. Slivers of Ravnica. There it is. We go back to the first one. What the heck is that? We go back to the first one. We can see Slivers of Ravnica. Yeah. So same thing. I just did it earlier, like I'm some kind of cooking show. Hit this button, which you couldn't see because I couldn't scroll down far enough, which was funny. And we're gonna do it again. So obviously there's not a ton to look at here, but this is the process. If this is something you want to do or you're interested in doing, this is what I would recommend. I think this is a very clean way of doing this. It doesn't take much time compared to other methods, and I think it creates a really interesting result. Yes, you cannot influence the color. Also, I should mention, instead of saying each of the guild names, you could simply use the colors, saying red, green, blue, white, black, will often actually create the colors that you're looking for. It will still sometimes make multicolor cards, so it's not like you're over fixing it. I like multicolor cards, so I want there to be a more chance to seeing them for this set, right? And if I was making like a set based around 3-color cards, maybe I would use the other, I would try and influence the AI to do that. The point is that we're making a set. We're not just saying AI make a bunch of cards, we're trying to make a set here, right? So having a little bit of design intent, I think, is healthy for the process. Once we have flipped all these cards over, I'm just gonna scroll back up through to make sure that all of them are properly loading. They seem to be doing so. Very nice. And then we'll move on to the next one. And just do it again, Literally just keep doing it again. I didn't hit go yet, did I? I forgot. I have to hit the update from JSON button. I was trying to scroll down. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. Anyway. So motorcycle or something. Oh, did I get... Maybe that wasn't. Maybe it was just a car. I don't know vehicles, really. And that's something worth pointing out, actually. This process will not get you legendaries. It will maybe make some cards that look like legendaries, but they won't be. I've never seen it make like an enchantment, so odds of that seem really low, unless you sort of tell the AI to make an enchantment. And what else? There's another thing. I remember recently I was looking at the Discord, people were talking about how you can't make vehicles. Like, you can say, make me a vehicle, but the AI does not understand how a vehicle works. I doubt you'd see a Planeswalker without intentionally asking for a Planeswalker. And this is one of the reasons why the, like, standard deck builder is actually really decent, right? If you want just a deck that has a nice distribution of creature types, or card types, I should say, and mana costs, it will make you an actual, like, decent functioning deck. It's based off of a, you know, a template made by a human, but it's still being populated by the AI. It's still, like, a really cool way of using the tool, and I'm not trying to dismiss that. Yeah, it looks like we're getting a pretty good distribution of color. Maybe some colors are showing up more often than the others, but still pretty okay. A lot of blue, actually. So once we are done with all of this, we will import all of them into Tabletop Sim, and we'll just literally go through all of them. That's the stream today. We will be sorting them by color to see what our distribution is. We will be sorting them by duplicates, because sometimes they will make duplicate cards, and we can then weed those out, because those are not uniques, and we're making a set, not a deck. And we will also make sure that all the cards function, right? I'm not a judge, so they're not necessarily going to be judge approved. I know that recently my partner and I were looking at some AI cards, and there was a disagreement of whether a card was legal or not in Standard Magic, and yeah, it's just like, we're not judges. We might throw out a card that isn't legal. We might include a card that is. Scratch that, reverse it. But you know what I mean. So we're just going to go through the process. We're going to look at all those stuff. And yeah. That's it. I don't have a ton to say. This is literally just, like, busy work at this point. It's not busy work, right? Like, there's a point to it. I'm clearly doing this with purpose. When I am done, I will be putting all these decks, all these cards online somehow once the actual deck has been made. Or not deck, the set has been finished. If you are watching this on YouTube, it should be in the description and the pinned comment. But I'll have to make sure I have a way of figuring out to get these to people if it's something they're interested in. Again, to me, the important part is to respect the AI's stupid ideas and include all the cards no matter if they're good or not. And really respect that this is like a single batch of forging, right? If I make a batch of cards and make a set and go, these cards all suck, and then I try again, then I'm not using an AI generated batch. I am choosing the best out of AI generated batches. Again, that's not as important to other people as to me. Some people would rather the cards be good than preserve the AI-ness, and that's totally legit, right? This is just the way that I want to use the tool, and hopefully this set will come out in a way that is really worth playing in and using as sort of a set. Again, there is another set that I have made on my own time, and as much as I like that set, sorry, it flickered there, that was it switching between tabs. As much as I like that set, it is such a huge disparity of colors that I don't think it's very useful. You can still play with it, it's still good. I have like 5 or 6 decks that I made using those cards, like constructed style decks, and I quite like them. But the goal for this is to make a relatively even distribution of colors for a set, and that people can enjoy without too much human interference. So what we do once we've generated our list of cards is we go back to the JSON file here, and we want to scroll through this. You can see that each card has been given a card ID. This is the actual like internal ID that exists on Urzas.ai. You could go to a website with this as the card ID extension, and you would see it as its own page. And so if it has a card ID, it means it finished loading properly. Great. So since that is true, we will, we're just going to use the download all button. It is worth checking your settings because, as I've mentioned before, it will try and download each of these images individually. So if you have the setting turned on where it asks you, hey, you're downloading an image, where would you like to save it? It will ask you that for every single one. And while I normally like that, so I have it turned on, and I think it's on by default for most people, we don't want that right now today. So we're going to have that auto-save based on these card IDs and drop them all into a folder that I can then deal with later. So we are simply going to hit download all, and it's going to start downloading. While that's happening, I'm going to move to the next tab, and I'm going to check to see if all of these cards have finished. Very good. Loading really well today. I made 300 cards, and it is not stuttering. I'm very excited about that. I'm just going to double check that all those saved properly. It says they're done saving, but you never can tell. Oh, it got hung up on something. It didn't actually finish saving. Okay, cool. We are going to go, where am I saving these to? Pictures, AI cards, and then temp. So currently there's 36 cards in this temp folder. I'm going to hit the download button once there's 60 cards. I don't want to cross any streams and get anything messed up. I don't expect it to, but, you know, just in case. So we're simply going to let these files download, which is what they're currently doing. And that looks like that should be good. This says that there's 58 items here, and there should be 60. That's weird. Are any of these actually broken and I just didn't notice? Because if you do download all, anything that doesn't have an ID will just be skipped. Well, that's not good. Because I can't really check to see which ones are working properly and which ones aren't. Yeah, so it looks like a couple of these got skipped, and I have no way of knowing which ones. I mean, I could go through them individually and find out, but that's not good. That is bad. I don't want to check all these. I guess I could just download them again and find out which ones are, like, the same ID. You know what? We'll just do that. We'll just re-download them all. And then we will, you know, do that thing where it's like, hey, these files have the same name. What do you want me to do? Replace them or not? And I'll be like, yeah, replace them. It's fine. So that will work. I simply need to move these files first so that we don't have any disparity. I don't think disparity is the right word. Well, whatever. It is now. We are looking for my folder called Full Sets, I believe. There it is. And we're going to open a new folder called Slivers of Ravnica. Which, now that I say that out loud, actually sounds like a pretty cool set name because it's like slivers, like different pieces of Ravnica too. Yeah. Alright, so we're going to copy all these. We're going to drag them over to Slivers of Ravnica. And then we're going to re-download from page 1, which is where we are. Download all cards. So this is going to take a little bit longer. Hopefully this fixes our problem. Sometimes I do count bad. So if we only made like 40 cards instead of 60 cards, I would be like, oh, that makes sense. But we're only missing 2 cards, which means like I copied 10 at a time. Like there's no way we could be missing 2 cards without them just not having been generated. So they must be here. At least I believe so. I'd be incredibly surprised if it turned out that that's not the case. And yeah, it's already downloaded the 60 cards somehow. So we're just going to copy those, move them over to our other folder. It will say, hey, 58 of these are the same thing. Yeah. Replace all of those. That's fine. And there we go. Okay, beautiful. That's not an issue. That was a bit weird, but it turned out fine. And we're just going to do the same thing again. For our next one, download all the cards in tab 2. And we're going to do the same thing again. This is why I wanted to download them all and then move them, just in case there was any errors. And I'm glad I did, because there we have it. Very, very nice. So, we'll download these cards. And see how that goes. Now, while this is downloading, I could start preparing the import sheet for the cards I just downloaded. I like to import them in individual sheets, just because the default importer for Tabletop Sim is import 70 cards at once. I think it technically imports 69 because the last card is like separated as being a special card. We can see that it's finished downloading, and it did download 60. Great, so I'm just going to move those over into our new folder. Beautiful. Move on to the next one. Hello? Please don't tell me you broke. Please tell me you're just gonna, like, flicker, and there you are! Woo! Okay, scared me there for a minute. All of these should be good, though. They look... Oh, I didn't actually check to see if that last one was done. It must have been, because it actually did download, you know, all the cards. But this one looks like it hasn't really finished loading yet. So, what do we have? These are all good. These are all fine. These are all good. These are all fine. Those ones aren't. Rakdos, Urza, is it? Okay, Rakdos just finished. Urza. So what this means, this doesn't mean that they're not, like they're still flipped over. It just means they haven't finished rendering, right? So if you select something, you can see this is still text. It hasn't turned, and now it's an image. See the difference there? I don't know if that was obvious or not, but I can't select the individual text anymore because it has rendered the text onto the image, and now it should be ready to actually download. That's how the thing works. But we can check to make sure that that's done for all of them. So, Slivers of Ravnica, is it? Oh, it just finished loading. Beautiful. So, let's just double check this again. At the end of the day, they are random. So, if something does go wrong and it has to get regenerated, it's not a big deal. As long as you as the curator are not, you know, injecting your biases in and being like, I want to reroll that card because it sucks. You know what I mean? Like, as long as you're not doing that, I think you're fine. So we're going to download all, and we're going to move on. Great. So this is our third batch. So this is, what? Cards 121 to 180? Yep. That's how that works. Oh, for some reason my my tabletop sim decided it didn't want to show up in the background of my shot anymore. I guess it's been like minimized for too long or something. Oh well, it's not a big deal. It was just there for ambiance and because I was gonna need it later anyway. We can see in my folder that I did in fact download 60, so that's fine. We'll drag those over into our Slivers of Ravnica folder. We'll go into tab 4. And make sure that all of these have finished rendering. Beautiful. And we will not update. If I hit update from JSON, it wouldn't actually matter because the card IDs are now part of the JSON. So it's not a big deal, but I did almost click that. And download. Okay, make sure those are going. And since we're like right at the end here, I think I will start importing these cards. Maybe I'll try importing more at once. I've never done that before. Why not? Why not give that a shot? So I do have a folder ready for not folder. I have a shortcut to the tabletop deck editor in my AI cards folder because it's where I use it from. Make a new deck. And we will not make it 10 by 7. We will instead make it 10 by I want 100 by 3. So 10 by 30, that seems... I mean, that's literally what I'm doing, right? That's very silly looking. Okay, cool. These have all finished downloading. Let's make sure that's correct. Temp, there are 60 in temp. Beautiful. We can move those over into the main folder. And then our last folder. Oh, I might have to wait for something to load. Let's make sure these are all good. Okay, that looks good so far. Beautiful. We're going to simply download all these cards. And of course, these cards are downloading with that card ID as their name, which means if anything does go wrong or accidentally download the same card twice, we will know because I'm putting all these images in the same folder and they would have a name conflict. I'm pretty sure if I didn't remove the cards from one folder and put them into another folder between batches, it would simply see the same name and go, oh, I'll add copy 1 or whatever, right? I'd add like bracket 1 to the end. So that is why it is good to be always emptying your folder whenever you do that, at least in my opinion. This says 59 cards downloaded. Okay. What card didn't get downloaded? That is gonna be difficult to know. I'm simply gonna delete these, I think. And then re-download. It didn't take very long to download anyway, so download all cards. Come on, give me all 60 this time. I don't know why something didn't load last time, but shouldn't be a big deal. I'm really hoping that we're going to see good color distribution. I really don't know, and if we don't, that's just the way it is, but hopefully it'll be good color distribution. So, looking excitedly. That's not a saying. I don't know what I meant by that. Okay, it finished downloading. It has downloaded 60 cards. Beautiful. No idea what happened last time, but that's fine. We now have 300 cards in a folder. And I just realized I don't think I made this deck large enough. So, do you want to close this tab? Yes, I do. Let's make a new deck. We're going to call it not by 30 as the height, but by 31. Because again, as I mentioned previously, there is that issue where the last... What? Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Okay, I don't know what happened there. It's trying to import the... Okay, whatever. So it's going to make a bunch of individual decks of 60 cards instead. I have no idea why. Yeah, that's fine. That works too. Okay, sure. I definitely told it to make a 10 by 30. Maybe there's a max and it maxed out. I don't know. Sorry, you can't see any of this, but I'm using the TTS deck editor to save my decks. So we're going to simply drag them in. Whenever it goes, you import more cards than it can handle. It'll ask you immediately, do you want to make a new deck? And you can just say yes, and it will just keep populating. So that actually worked fine, just not what I was expecting. We will export the first deck. We are going to export it into our full sets section of my computer. And we'll go to Slivers of Ravnica, and we will call it I don't know, like portion 1. Like I don't know what to call that. It's just, yeah. What did I call it when I did this one? I called it set 1 and set 2. Well, that's a little bit confusing, isn't it? Yeah, I guess I'll just call it like part 1. That works. Part 1, save that. Slivers of Ravnica. Move to the next deck. File. Export that. Export. Part 2. Save. Move on to the next deck. File. Export. Export. Part 3. Save. Next deck. File. Export. Export. Part 4. And then, of course, the last part, file, export, export. And that is part 5. Okay. Part 5 is smaller than all the others because these are like 69 card decks. Yeah, normally I would split them up differently than that, but since it used that extra space. So why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? That's the real question. All right. So we will now quickly move over to our tabletop sim. Let's open that right up. It looks like this. Isn't it beautiful? No, it's not showing. I'll re-up that. There it is. And of course, we'll have to remove our browser window. So we'll start by grabbing an object. We will grab a component. We will grab a cards. We'll grab a custom deck. Splat that down there. If I do multiple at once, will it just ask me about all of them sequentially? I don't actually know. For a face, we will grab where we saved it to. Part 1, please, if you will. And I will, of course, need to grab the URL of the card back. Wherever that should be. I don't remember anything. I don't remember anything. Good, thank you, me. Where are we? Where's my card back? There it is. And we'll just paste that URL here. And we want to make sure we import all of the cards. All 70 of them. All of that's the same. The back is hidden. If you don't check that, then when they go into someone's hand, it'll just be a black image instead. So import those. Now the question is it going to actually make all of these custom decks into this deck? Or is it going to ask me again? I legit don't know what's going to happen. Alright, it looks like it can just only do it once at a time. So that's fine. We'll just delete these. And we'll do it again. Custom deck. The face is part 2. Very good. Put that on the cloud. Call that part 2. Paste the back URL. Make sure the number is full. Make sure the back is hidden. Wait for that to finish loading. I probably don't need to wait, but I'm gonna anyway. Just in case something weird happens. That's taking way longer to import than I was expecting. What is going on? You okay? You okay there? I'm gonna import. Nope, it's not. It's okay, it's not loading. What the heck is going on here? Huh. I'm gonna cancel, I guess. That's bizarre. Try that again. Okay. Oh, wow, it is. Something is wrong. That's not a good sign. What if I imported like a card or something? Import locally. Back image. Alright, now I'm just going to delete that. I don't know if that's going to help. I just thought maybe I'd like refresh the system or something. Get it to focus on me instead. Okay, try that again. Part 2. Yes, go to the cloud. Yes, part 2. There we go. Much better. Now we import the back. We say it's all 70. We say the back is hidden. Go. Alright, beautiful. We will do that again with our next deck. Make sure that finishes loading, just in case it messes anything up. Okay. Face is part 3. Put that on the cloud. Upload it as part 3. Oh, it's loading. Oh, no. Is it going to break again? Maybe. Okay, we got there. Import. Great. Finish loading that. Now, something I haven't done, which I think I should do, is make new lands. And something I always forget is that if you make lands via the deck builder, then it will still get to use that deck name. That is one of the most fun things to me about using the deck builder, is that you have this extra hidden field to influence the card. You don't have to name the card itself. So if I want to make an island, I have to call it island. It won't work otherwise. But if I make it an island and I change the deck name, I can now influence what that island might do. I don't exactly know if that actually affects the art or not, because legitimately the art is done by like a completely different thing. But maybe. This is number 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I realized as soon as I said that might be completely irrelevant. It's entirely possible that because the image is based off of the name and the type line, that it might not be based off of the deck at all. I don't know. I legitimately have no clue whether or not when you use the deck builder, the image also looks at the deck name. I could not tell you. But I still think I should make new lands, because it's always nice to say, hey, it's a new land. It's a new set, have some new lands. That's, of course, going to happen. We know it's going to happen. It happens every set. It's important. So I'm going to do that. Import part 5. We only need to import like 30 of these, so I'm actually going to not import all of them just to save time and energy. So the height is, I guess it is 10 by 7, but we only want to import like 30 of these. Great. Back is hidden and import. Okay, let's just make sure that worked before I assume it did. There we go. Yeah, there was only 24 there. Sweet. I, of course, have not looked at any of these cards yet, so I don't know. I have no clue what this set is like at all. I don't know what the color distribution is. I don't know how many creatures there are compared to other things. This is like a new set being released, right? Like, I am giddy with excitement to find out what is in the new set. 300 cards. Look at these. Look at these 300 cards. You gotta love it. Okay, so I will be going through those, but first I would like to actually jump on over. Let's get Urza's AI back on screen. I want to make some lands, because that's an important part that I hadn't considered until just now, so we're going to do it. I'm going to make a new tab, because I don't want to... I like leaving them up. I don't know, it's silly, but I like it. We don't need any of that stuff. We just want to show the deck JSON. We'll go back over here, actually, and copy this, because it'll be easier for me. Great. Okay, so we want to make sure that the card name is this. Oh, I don't know what the card name is. Huh. Oh, well, I mean, I can guess. Is it card underscore name? Do you think this works? Something like that. Space. We're going to say island. And we're just going to make sure that works before we do anything else, because I legit have no idea. I think there's a comma there. I'm not entirely sure. Let's make sure this works. We will go down. We'll say update from the string, and it does not work. Okay, I did something wrong. We will actually make, let's say, Slivers of Ravnica. Put it in the name here. We will say, let's say a standard deck. Not commander. That's an error. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I wonder how that's going to work. We're going to say forge deck. We are going to stop it from forging because we don't actually want it to forge. And we will just go to the bottom because all these decks do come with lands. There we go. I see. It needed to have the mana cost and type and everything. That was why it didn't work. Okay, cool. So mana cost, type, land, name, island, deck name, Slivers of Ravnica. Great. So we're just going to copy this for every type. Island. Mountain. Swamp. Plains, the only plural land. And forest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will say update. I did something wrong. Okay, what did I do wrong? Island, comma, yep, comma, Oh, there's no comma. Missing my comma between individual lands. That's all. Update from string. We can see that's updated. It might not have been obvious, but it did happen. There we go, just to make sure. And we'll just make one of these. And we will not influence these results, so we are going to get whatever we get, even if they're really boring. This one's not working. Okay. So, first island. Pretty normal. This is kind of what I expect whenever I see an island made by the AI, but that's okay. We will download these into my temp folder and then drag them in as usual. So, island, great. Oh, it's a cute looking mountain. A swamp, very nice looking swamp. Oh, I like that plains. That's a cool plains. I've seen some very boring plains before. Okay, and what forest is it going to choose? You probably can't see this very well. It's probably cut off because I didn't think this through when I first set this up. I can't scroll down any further. It's done. Okay. We're going to download all of those. I mean, I could just download them individually. It's not a big deal, but I'm going to download them all, wherever that button is. Great. Oh, basic lands. There we are. Wow, I do have a folder for basic lands. Great. I'm going to make a new folder, which is called Slivers of Ravnica. And we will just move those into there. Should be, there's only 4 here. Which one didn't get downloaded? It didn't download our swamp. Swamp, why aren't you downloading? I'm just gonna save it. Okay. There we go. Great. Move those over. That's all 5. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We will then, of course, have to make a whole new deck in our tabletop sim deck editor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful. File. Export this as a deck. Is this the best way of doing this? Maybe not, but it's what I'm going to do. Basic lands. Slivers of Ravnica. Lands. I'm just going to say lands. Save. Beautiful. And we can now import that. So object. We will do it as a custom deck. Could I do 5 individual cards? 100% I definitely could do that. I'm not going to. So, AI cards, basic lands, Slivers of Ravnica. Did I say Ragnarok? Did I say Rakdos? Yes, go to the cloud, please. Yes, please upload those. We do need to paste the back, which means I'll need to grab it again because I have since put something on the clipboard, but that's okay. We have it right here. We only need to actually import 5 of these, so I guess I might as well do that. The back is hidden, yes, and import. And that should be our lands. Beautiful! We will save these so that I don't forget about them. I always forget to save things. This is... lands, Slivers of Ravnica. Save. Beautiful. So, we can set these aside. We don't actually need these lands right now. And of course, I think I'm still showing you my my browser, so you didn't see any of that happen. I am great at this. Okay. Whew. Hello, everyone. If you just jumped over the whole forging process, we are ready to look at the cards. Now, important thing to note, what we are doing is not looking at power level. We might enjoy a card that we happen to look at, but the point of this is to simply ascertain whether or not a card is legal or not. That is it. If a card could not legally be printed, then we're not going to include it in the set. Now, there are a few different ways that we might have a little wiggle room on this. So a card might have completely broken formatting and just like not make sense. That one just goes in the garbage. A card might have you force the player to make an effect that there are no existing rules for how to govern, and therefore we cannot ascertain whether or not you can simply ignore the effect in that because it does nothing, or if it is actually telling you to do something that should have rules outside of the card and we cannot, we can't see them because they don't exist. It could also be a card that is the same as the previous one, except that those cards, those effects are optional, in which case you could simply rule that you cannot activate that ability. The ability is illegal. So that's an option. So we're going to be sorting these into different tiers of illegality, depending on what we see. There's also the one where sometimes it will give you reminder text when it doesn't need to give you reminder text. For example, I've seen cards that say something like, return creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield, parentheses, exile that creature, right? It's like, if you wanted me to exile the creature, that's fine. You could totally tell me to do that. But you can't tell me it's reminder text to exile the creature. That has a lot of weird implications that it's reminder text. What part of this card are you reminding me about? Why is this the real rule according to the rules of Magic, not the rules of this card? So that's one of the different options that might happen. So with all that in mind, we're going to start looking at that, and we'll have to sort them into those different groups. We will ascertain whether or not what the ruling is on a type by type basis, right? Not so much saying like a card by card basis, but those are the main categories, and then we will sort of decide what to do with those categories depending on what's in them. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's start. Opal Mask. Opal Mask has some cut off formatting. Now, that said, does this say tap, add, colorless? Yes. Also, the text of a card can be found. So all of these cards have a card ID, and if you go onto the Urza's AI website, you can actually take that like URL and paste it into anything that sort of previews text, like Discord, and it will tell you what that text is. So we could confirm what that text says, but it's still broken formatting. So let's continue reading the card. Tap, put a charge counter on Opal Mask, great. And tap, choose one. I don't think I've seen a tap choose, like an activated choose one like that. It becomes a 2/2 colorless construct artifact creature with trample until end of turn. Okay. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. Cool. Opal Mask becomes a 2/2 colorless merfolk artifact creature with shroud until end of turn. Okay, so this card is cool enough that I don't want to throw it in the garbage. Now, again, we should not be putting in our own biases for stuff, and I would not say this is a fully illegal formatting because nothing in the actual formatting has broken except for that's cut off. And that's like a printing error as opposed to like the cost of the card says tap a creature. Like, you can't do that, right? For example. Which you will see sometimes. So I will put this aside because we can figure out the ruling on it later. But I am tempted to say that's a perfectly legal card. We just need to confirm what the first line of the text says. Cruel Treachery is a 3-mana sorcery. Destroy target non-black creature. You may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Sliver of Ravnica, Dimir. Reveal it, put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle. Well, that's not an illegal thing. I've seen it do this before, where you make a set with a deck name, and the deck name somehow ends up in here. The question is, did it say Sliver? It should say Slivers of Ravnica. Let me just double check that I didn't forge my cards incorrectly. Of course, this is Slivers, this says Slivers, this says Slivers, this says Slivers, this says Slivers. Yes, okay. So it just decided to truncate that in the card. So the text of this card is very weird because there is not going to be a Sliver of Ravnica Dimir, I'm sure. Otherwise, it's an expensive kill spell with a restriction. You might not see it get played, but it's perfectly legal. Hornet Sliver, 3-mana Sliver. All Sliver creatures have tap, add green. To activate this ability, you may pay 1. Okay. So this is the, hey, there's a reminder text when there really shouldn't be effect. I don't have a problem with this because it straight up is just like, if you want to pay one, you can. And I'm like, I guess that's always kind of true. I'm not technically paying it. I'm just making the floating mana and then not spending it. But, like, since it's a May ability, I am tempted to say that's perfectly fine. But it is very weird. So I will want to start actually making legitimate categories. So we've got legal and black. We've got weird formatting and colorless. We've got unnecessary reminder text and green. Yeah. We'll make some columns here, I guess. Rows. Avid Sliverer is a 5-mana 2/3. All Sliver creatures have, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 3/3 Sliver creature that's still a Sliver in addition to its other types. That's actually a really cool effect. It means you can upgrade all of your crap Slivers into 3/3s, right? But only when they do combat damage. They have to prove themselves first. I like this card. I see nothing wrong with it. You might say, hey, it's got partner and it shouldn't. You're right. But partner when something isn't your commander just doesn't do anything. Like, that's just actually true already in the game. So, I don't see an issue. That is a legal green card. Break the Fall is a 1 in an instant. That's not the way you say that. Is a 1-mana instant. It's red. It says, Break the Fall deals 3 damage to target creature. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Destroy target land. That is gross. That is gross. But it's legal. Rakdos Spoils is a 4-mana instant. It says, create a 1/1 black Sliver creature token and a 1/1 red Sliver creature token. This card is cool. Okay, so it's 4 mana for 2 1/1s, which is not great. But they're Slivers, which is relevant in this format. I think this card's actually rad. Again, we're not here to judge power level, but I think that's cool. Okay. Urza Edifice Watch. Now, this is a blue card for some reason. Maybe this blue card is keeping an eye on Urza. I don't know. It is a 4-mana 2/3 with flying. You can tap it to add colorless, and you can sacrifice it to draw a card. Okay, cool. Legal card. Sky Shroud Arbiter is a 3-mana artifact at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control an enchantment, draw a card. A pretty cool effect if you had an enchantment. I don't expect to see any enchantments in this set, but if there are any, that's a cool card. It's not a bad mana rock. And, yeah. Little Is It mana rock. I love that. Seam Lore Weaver. Seam Lore Weaver is a 5-mana Sliver. Okay, it's a 2/3. 5-mana 2/3, okay. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1. And you can tap it to add green or red. That's not right. Blue. That card is not good, but it is legal. Steward of Bolus. Oh, Bolus is involved. Okay, that makes sense. Isn't like Bolus like trapped on Ravnica or something? That makes sense. 2-mana Human Cleric. It's a 1/1. Tap, prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to you this turn. That's not terrible. If it was a 2/2, I think this would be... But it's a 1/1, so it's a little but I think it's not terrible. Oops. Sorry about that. It's our first white card. Scavenged Sliver. 1-mana Sliver. All Sliver creatures have, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may return a land you control to its owner's hand. If you want to, you can do that. If you want to. If you return 1 land to your hand, often that's actually worth doing because you can, like, return a tapped land and then play it and then tap it, you know? So, like, there are fringe situations where that's relevant, but otherwise this is a 1-mana 1/1 which is a Sliver, and so it gets to benefit from your other Sliver abilities, and that's probably all you care about. Alright, put that into blue. Deluge is a 2-mana instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand, then you may return another target creature to its owner's hand. Huh! I don't know how this card would actually function as far as the stack, but I like it, and I think it's good. Okay. Leeching Sliver is a Simic Sliver. all Sliver creatures have. Whenever this creature attacks, defending player loses 1 life. That is brutal, and I love it. Okay, let's go. Feral Sliver is a 2-mana Sliver. All Sliver creatures have tap, add red. The mana is mana of any color. Now, okay, this goes into our unnecessary reminder text section. I don't know what to do about that, because obviously, like, what part of this card is it trying to remind me about? Does red mana represent mana of any color? Like, what is it trying to tell me? So I think this card's just illegal, unless we end up with a situation where we just go, you know what? Let's ignore any reminder text that doesn't make sense. I don't like to put human influence on top of that, but if we're going to cut the card anyway, maybe we should. We'll have to look at our cards and see, is that consistent, right? If we can consistently make that ruling without it being broken, maybe we'll do that. But we're not going to do it right now. We're just going to set the card aside for the time being. Havoc is a 1-mana instant. It deals 1 damage to any target. If it's an artifact creature, it deals 2 damage to that creature instead. That's not great, but it is legal. Okay. Cephalid Insight. Ooh, it's an Is It card. It's an instant. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put any number of them into your graveyard and the rest into your hand, then shuffle. 3 mana, draw 3, or mill 3. Pretty nice. Okay. Twist of Fate is a Golgari instant. Target creature gets -X/-X, where X is the number of colors among creatures you control. Ooh. Oh, that's fun. I like this card. It's often going to be 2 mana for -2/-2, which is playable, especially in, like, limited. But it can go as high as 5 for only 2. Not bad, not bad. Shivan Renegade. What are you doing on Ravnica? I don't know, but you're a 2-mana human shaman. You're a 1/1 with trample, always good. And whenever this attacks, choose a land you control. If that land is a plains, Shivan Renegade gains indestructible until the end of turn. Huh. This is cool. Right? It's like, so, I mean, like, unless you're buffing this, it's just a 1-mana 1/1 with trample and indestructible, which isn't amazing. But the idea of saying, hey, you get to choose a land. It basically says, if you have a plane, you may give this indestructible until end of turn. Like, if for some reason you don't want to give it indestructible, that happens sometimes. It's not unreasonable that you would want to ignore that effect. This is a 4-mana Sliver called Ravager Sliver. It is a 3/2, and whenever it attacks, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Not terrible. It's basically a 4-mana 4/2, but worse, which is already not great. So probably not seeing play, but cool. Cryptic Sliver is a 2-mana blue Sliver. It's a 1/1. All Sliver creatures have Shroud. Do we already have one that does that? I don't know. But I'm into it. Sounds fun. Ferocity Charm is a 4-mana instant. Choose 2. Ooh, I love a choose 2. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Great. Counter target creature that's attacking you. You cannot counter a creature. Now, some would argue, oh, this card's broken then. It does not function. I would say there is no legal target, personally, but that is a personal opinion. 3, counter target artifact that's blocking you. Counter target creature that's blocking an artifact you control. I think no matter if this card functions or not, it isn't good. But I will put it in the, like, I don't know what to do with you section. We'll move it down here because it's not actually, this is our, like, reminder text zone, you know? So we'll put that a little bit further down just to be safe about that. Goblin Exile, a 1-mana instant. Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't see that coming. Exile target non-basic land. Interesting. I don't think there are any non-basic lands in this set, but who knows? There might be. Maybe they printed a land cycle. That would be fun. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle. That's kind of cool. I mean, like, this would be cool in a set that has basic lands. I wonder if we should have made a set of cards that were like Slivers of Ravnica : land. I bet we could have made like a cycle of lands by doing that. But again, that's like us injecting our own opinions into what a set should have. But it's an interesting point. That could have been kind of fun. I don't know. Maybe I will try that another time. I think it's legal. Cinder Sliver. Golgari 2-mana 1/1. It's a sliver. All sliver creatures have Death Touch. Cool. Any amount of damage they deal to a creature is enough to destroy it. Yep, that's right. Great. Put that over here. Flanking Sliver is a 3-mana sliver. It's a 2/2. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it becomes blocked, remove a 1/1 counter from it. That is bad. That is bad. This is a bad card that no one will play, but it is legal. The Essex Flux. I love a the. I don't want Wizards to print many cards that start with the, but whenever they do, it's like, ooh, this is going to be special. 2-mana white instant that says each player gains X life and gains X life, where X is the number of colors among permanents that they control. Interesting. So there's like a weird sunburst motif in this set. Huh. I did not see that coming. That's cool. It's not actually sunburst. Sunburst is the number of like colors you use to cast a spell, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? There's like a multicolor effect going on in this set, which I'm into because I did try and make sure there was multicolor stuff going on in the set. So yeah, that's rad. A weird thing. So you're basically getting X times X, where X is the number times 2, but it counts as 2 procs for anything that cares about life gain. So that's fun. White. Where are my white cards? Here? Here. Ghostly Sliver is a 5-mana 3/3. All Sliver creatures have 1. Put a 1/1 counter on this permanent. That's not a tap ability. You can just spend 1 to do that. That is cool. I wonder if there's any cards that we've seen so far that are like, oh, this card's pretty bad, but it's a Sliver. Right? Like that one that we saw that was like a trample indestructible. That's not a Sliver if I remember correctly, right? Was it red? Yeah, this one. It's not a Sliver. So this card would have been really cool with that effect, though, because then you could buff it really, really strong and then trample indestructible things. But anyway. Embalm is a 2-mana Rakdos instant. It says, destroy target creature. Ingest. When this spell enters your mouth, you may reveal this card. If you do, ... That feels like flavor text gone wrong. What is this? So let's actually look up what ingest does, because I know that's a real mechanic. Let us just quickly check what ingest says. MTG ingest. I know that's real. Okay, ingest is a keyword ability that triggers when a creature with ingest deals combat damage to a player. So, not relevant on an instant. On its own, ingest has little impact on the game as a whole, however, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Here's an example. Great. Ingest, bracket, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top card of their library. And this is not like an ability, this is like actually a keyword. It's not like an ability word like landfall, where you could theoretically have different text. So you could argue that it should be that text, or you could argue that it just doesn't do anything and it's stupid. Or you could argue that it's completely broken and it's not a playable card. Let's see. So yeah, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top card of the library. Whereas this card says, ingest. When this spell enters your mouth, you may reveal this card. If you do, ... I mean, I just think that's funny, but I will put it in the unnecessary, it's not even unnecessary reminder text. If it had no reminder text, I would go, well, this can't have ingest. And then I'd have to make a ruling. I'd have to decide, this card can't have ingest. Does that veto the entire card? Or would ingest simply never trigger, right? Like, if this instant, right? If you gave this ingest and you ruled, okay, this means, where is it? Where is the rule? Where is it? There it is. Whenever this instant deals combat damage to a player, that player does this thing. The instant will never deal combat damage to a player But does that inherently mean that that is broken, right? Like, it says that if an effect happens, do another, if X then Y, and X can never happen. I don't think that inherently means the card can't be printed, right? You wouldn't print it, but it's not like it's actually forcing the player to take an illegal action. Does that make sense? Either way, I like this card a lot. I think it's great. We will put it in our, what the heck, zone. Molten Stag is a 2-mana Golgari card. It's an instant. It says put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. If that creature would die, exile it instead. This card sucks, but whatever. You might still play it in limited. So look, sometimes cards are bad, and that's okay, you know? That's part of a full set. If you want a nice full set, you gotta have some bad cards. Adaptive Mending is a 1-mana green spell. It's an instant. It says return up to 2 target artifact cards from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Overload says 4 mana. You may cast the spell for its overload cost. If you do, change its text by replacing all instances of target with each. Oh no. So, this is a real effect. It's an actual thing you see. But it's worded wrong, right? It doesn't say, like, it's return up to 2 each artifact cards from your graveyard to your hand. That's not... I don't know how to deal with that. This... Is there precedent of overload not being perfectly worded? I guess is what I'm wondering. Interesting. I like the card, right? I know what this means. You know what this means. The card could function, but it's currently written wrong. How would you write this correctly? Like, return... Yeah, it's like return, yeah, like, I guess it's like, return, I was gonna say up to target, which does not make sense. Wow, that is so interesting. I'm gonna put this in my green, I don't think this works pile, but I want it to. I don't know if that's what that pile is. I've lost track of it. Quicksilver Sliver. Nice. Quicksilver. Yep. I love that. 1 mana red Sliver. It's a 1/1. All Sliver creatures have. Whenever this permanent is dealt damage, create a... Holy crap. They have Enrage create a 1/1 colorless Sliver creature? That is so good. Oh, I love this set. Okay. Lobotomy is a 2-mana red instant. Destroy target non-basic land you don't control. Sacrifice Lobotomy. It deals 1 damage to any target. So, 2 things are wrong with this. 1, you can't sacrifice an instant. 2, you can't have like an activated ability on an instant, you know? Like, you can't put a spell on the stack and then say I'm going to activate an ability on the spell while it's on the stack. I think this is just illegal, which is probably fine. It's not functional anyway, and that I don't think there's any non-basics in the set, but weird. I'm going to put it over here. Alms Collector is a 2-mana 1/1 human wizard. Alms Collector can't be blocked. 1, sacrifice Alms Collector, draw a card. I kind of like this card. It's a 2-mana 1/1 that can't be blocked. That already has use cases, right? If you can buff it, that's pretty strong. And you can just spend 1 and crack it to get a card if you need to. It's a great early game play, and then if you need the card, you can get the card. I like this. That's a great card. Next is Riot Coil, a Gruel instant, 2-mana Gruel instant. It has kicker of red and green. You may pay an additional red and green as you cast the spell. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. If it was kicked, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. If it can't attack or block. So again, if that was an extra line of text, that would be an interesting ability, right? If you kick it, It can't attack or block. Which is useful because you could spend 4 mana to target an opponent's creature and it couldn't attack or block. It says it doesn't have a timing window though. It doesn't have a timing window. Either way, it's not right because it's not formatted correctly. This is in the unnecessary reminder text pile. Do I have a Gruel pile yet? I don't think I do actually. Nah, I don't have a Gruel pile yet. What do you know? Cool. Wayfarer Pilgrim is a 5-mana Azorius creature. It is a 2/3 bird cleric. It has flying. Whenever Wayfarer Pilgrim attacks, look at the top 5 cards of your library. Okay. You may reveal a non-land card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That's not bad. It's probably a bit expensive for 5 mana, but it does have flying, so you can get away with a lot by throwing some flying on stuff. Okay, it's interesting. It's certainly legal, so it's not really... It's neither here nor there as far as that's concerned. Unredeemed Sliver is a 3-mana sliver. Okay, sorry. Unredeemed Sliver is a 3-mana white sliver. It is a 1/2. And it says all sliver creatures get +1/+1. I think that should technically be like have +1/+1. It's not like when it enters the battlefield they get +1/+1 or anything like that, right? It's just, yeah. But I don't think that's a big deal. It then has tap, put a 1/1 counter on each sliver you control. That's so busted. But it is a 3-mana 1/2. It's not. It's a 3-mana, like, 2/3. That's a good point. It is effectively a 3-mana 2/3. That's really good. That's a great card. That card's so strong. Alright. White's looking pretty okay. It doesn't have many cards yet, but it's got some good ones. Plated Sliver is a 1-mana green sliver that says all sliver creatures get +1/+1. Reminder text, they can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach. So it thinks that they have flying, right? That's the reminder text for flying. I don't know. I don't know what to do about this. That goes in the green. Reminder text is a problem pile. Angrath's Desire is a 2-mana instant. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how much like duress costs or what its restrictions are. Seems fine to me. Intimidator Mage is a 2-mana blue human wizard. It's a 1/1. It has tap. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains flying until end of turn. Ooh, being able to give things flying is so good. Love that. Sliver Flux is a 1-mana green sliver. It's a 1/1. It says whenever a sliver creature you control dies, draw a card. Love it. What a simple, love that. Dark Lurking Sliver is a 2-mana 1/2 sliver. It says all sliver creatures have, whenever this creature attacks, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. Reminder text, to exile a creature card from your graveyard, you may cast it any time you could cast a sorcery. Okay. That's not true. Put that in the reminder text problems. Yeah, that's right. Thought Leech Sliver. 3-mana sliver. It's a 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets Thought Leech Sliver, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Like from anywhere? Oh no, the sliver. The sliver gets returned to its owner's hand. Yeah. Okay, cool. I was thinking it was the sorcery. I was like, that's pretty cool. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets... So it basically has like... It will bounce itself. It doesn't even bounce itself immediately, which means you can't use it to like dodge a like a kill spell or anything. It's a cool effect. It's purely a downside, though, which makes it not useful. I guess it's like not purely if you really wanted to be able to like continuously play slivers from your hand or something, but like that's a pretty weak upside. Anyway, Ravnic Sliver is a 4-mana red sliver. It says all sliver creatures have trample. It's a 2/3. Cool. Great. Leech Sliver. Did we already see this one? I think we saw a different kind of sliver that's had leech in the name. 3-mana 1/2 sliver. It's blue. It says whenever Leech Sliver is dealt damage, return it to its owner's hand at the end of combat. Interesting. Rakdos Cluestone is a 3-mana artifact creature sliver. It's a 1/4 and it says all sliver creatures have 2 tap, add black, red. I really thought this was going to be a ramp thing, but no, it's just filtering. It's just filtering. It's just filtering. I mean, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Blood Pair Sliver is a 2-mana 1/1 sliver. It says all sliver creatures have reach. They can block creatures with flying. That's legit. That actually works. Exile is a 4-mana black instant. It says exile target non-creature, non-land card from a graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it. Activate only as a sorcery. Excuse me? Exile target non-creature, non-land card from a graveyard. Create a token that's... What happens if you make a token that's a copy of a card? That's not on the like, if you copy something on the battlefield, you get a token copy on the battlefield. Sure. But when something's in the graveyard, it is a card. When something's in your hand, it's a card. When something's on the stack, it's a spell. And when something is on the battlefield, it's a permanent. Can you have a token of a card? If you do, where does it go, right? Like, create a token that's a copy of the exiled card. Is the card in your hand? Is it in your graveyard still? I would think it would still be in the graveyard, which would mean it would see... This doesn't work. This doesn't work at all. I'm putting this in the definitely doesn't work pile. If somebody can explain to me how it does work, I would love to hear about it. But Slivers of Ravnica. Holy crap, what? Does anybody remember what color it was? What color was it? Was it colorless? I'm so shocked by this. I know that it said Sliver of Ravnica, not Slivers of Ravnica. Also, it said Dimir. This is the one. You may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Sliver of Ravnica Dimir. And this card is called Slivers of Ravnica, not Dimir. It's so close. That would have been so cool. It's so close. Anyway, let's see. This is the title of the set. What's it gonna say? Slivers of Ravnica is a 2-mana blue instant. It says each player draws a card for each creature they control. Not necessarily slivers. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on each creature that player controls. Okay, let's talk about this. This card has a first line, which is cool. Each player draws cards. Sweet. The second part, on the other hand, says it has a text that says whenever. It doesn't say for how long this is true. It doesn't say, like, until the end of the turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on each creature that player controls. But also it doesn't say, like, from now on or, like, for the rest of the game. You could argue that this is just saying it is now true that whenever the creature, like it's floating, it is not a enchantment or an emblem, it's just true. I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's correct. I'm going to put this in this pile, I guess. I don't know what to do with that one. Semite Liege is a 4-mana white human warrior. It's a 3/2, and it says sacrifice Semite Liege. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Wow, that is trash. Okay, cool. What a trash card. It's legal, though. Selesnya Firebrand. That's a interesting name. Is a 4-mana human knight. It's a 2/3, and it says tap up to 2 target creatures you don't control. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. Okay. That's pretty good, actually. I like that card. Rith's Scepter is a 3-mana artifact that says, when Rith's Scepter enters the battlefield, choose 1. Then it's got some weird formatting, but whatever. Either add a black and a red, which sounds useless because it doesn't do anything after, right? Like, this is an artifact that's basically an instant. Rith's Scepter deals 1 damage to any target. Or actually, effectively a sorcery, sorry. Each player may cast a land they control without paying its mana cost. You cannot cast a land spell. I mean, lands aren't spells. You cannot cast a land. Return target land card from your graveyard to your hand. I don't think this is illegal. It's just bad. Cool. Rakdos the Menace. Oh! Rakdos got turned into slivers. Non-legendary slivers. If you don't know, Rakdos is a demon who is the ruler of the Rakdos. So, you know, it is actually a proper name. 2-mana red creature, Sliver. It's a 2/1, and it says, whenever a Sliver enters the battlefield under your control, they have Sliver Fall. Nice. Rakdos the Menace deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. This card's great. This card's excellent. Oh, man, this set's... I'm really enjoying this set so far. Gruel Tyrant is a 2-mana shapeshifter. Whenever Gruel Tyrant enters the battlefield or attacks, you may have it become a copy of target creature you control until end of turn. Ooh, I'm really into the idea of shapeshifters that, like, temporarily shapeshift instead of just, like, they're that other thing now. Yeah. So you can have this turn into slivers and then get all the sliver benefits. Yeah! Or double up a sliver of... I like this card. This card's great. The Gruel Tyrant. I don't know enough about Gruels to know if this means anything. Dimir Intrigues is a 3-mana instant. It is blue. You may sacrifice a land. If you do, return target creature to its owner's hand. If you don't, ooh, interesting. I don't think I've ever seen an if you don't. You may search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Huh. Now, what's interesting with this card is that when I read if you do, sentence period, if you don't, sentence period, my brain assumes the if you don't is still referring to you may sacrifice a land. But I don't know if that's actually true to the way that Magic cards are templated. This might actually mean you may sacrifice a land. If you sacrifice a land, return target creature to its owner's hand. If you don't return target creature to its owner's hand, like if you fail to do so somehow, you may search your library for a land. I don't know. I think if this card was printed, it would mean the prior, not because that is the way that it, like, the precedent says, but because that is, like, what is intuitive and how it would be ruled, even if the grammar is a bit awkward. I like this card a lot, actually. It's a 3-mana ramp spell in blue, or a bounce spell. I know that's weird, but I like it. I think it's good. I think it's cool. I'm going to make a new column, which is... I'm going to actually move this down, I think. Sorry, row. We're going to make a new row. This one means I need a judge. Sky Sliver is a 4-mana sliver. It's a 2/2. Whenever Sky Sliver attacks, you may return target permanent to its owner's hand. Every time they attack. That is cool. It doesn't actually have flying or anything, but it can bounce every turn. I love that. Obviously, you might be thinking like, hey, it's a sliver. Shouldn't it be giving this effect to all the other slivers? I'm kind of into the idea that some of them do that and not all of them. Like, I think that's just a more interesting tribe that way. Cool. I like it. Next, Warhorn Blast is a 1-mana red instant. It says target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Okay. It deals combat damage for creatures without first strike. Yeah, like this is not something that is like super busted. It's just like, I can imagine that being a common, you know what I mean? Rakdos Hand of Bolus. Ooh. Wait, didn't we already have a Hand of Bolus? Interesting. I like the idea. So this is my pet narrative, okay? My pet narrative for this is that Rakdos has been infected by slivers. And they've since, like, divided. And so there's different slivers that are all non-legendary that have the name Rakdos. They are a Rakdos sliver because they're actually, like, of Rakdos. I don't know what that means, but, like, yeah. This is a non-legendary sliver of Rakdos in the, like, traditional sense of the word sliver. Anyway, it's a 4-mana red sliver. It's a 4/4. Okay. For 1 mana, each player may sacrifice a permanent. If a player does, they may put a sliver card from their hand onto the battlefield. Holy crap, this is cool. Oh, you offer this ability to your opponent too. But it's you may put a sliver card. Now, since this set is built around slivers, it's likely every player is going to be playing slivers, which I think makes slivers more fair. And this is such a cool way of doing slivers. Like, yes, you both have the opportunity to get a sliver if you sacrifice something. But if you don't have any slivers in hand, then you can't do it. So it still benefits the person activating it. This card's rad. Oh, I like this set a lot. I'm so excited. Ugh. Okay. Split is a 3-mana blue instant. It says counter target instant or sorcery spell. Create a token that's a copy of that spell, except it's a 1/1. And it's a sliver in addition to its other types. Reminder text, it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Okay, so let's unpack this. Counter target instant sorcery spell and then create a token that is a copy of the spell except it's a thing. I love the idea of like a token instant that is a sliver artifact. I think that's a really cool idea. But it doesn't make sense for a few reasons. One, it is not a 1/1 like creature sliver token. It's just a token. It would be an instant sliver or a sorcery sliver. It's an artifact is reminder text. Now, you could argue, like, if this was printed, this card would mean to me, and again, I'm not a judge, what I would read this card to mean, if it was legal, like, if this was, like, an officially printed card, and they didn't give a, like, they didn't explain it. They just were like, here's a card, it's a new card, and everyone went, what the heck, what does that mean? My interpretation would be, you counter an instant or sorcery spell. Then, you make a token that's a copy of that spell. When you make a token that's a copy of a spell, it is an artifact in addition to its other types. That's what that means, okay? So it is on the battlefield as an artifact. Now, it does say as in addition to its other types, and there is a rule that says if a instant or sorcery ever enter the battlefield, they go to the graveyard instead. So that would supersede this, but you could imagine a world in which a token of a spell means an artifact that has all the same text. Now, how does that text function? I don't know, because there's no trigger. The trigger for a spell is that it's on the stack and it resolves, is how the text happens on a spell. If it was an artifact, if you had an artifact that said, well, for example, if there was an artifact that was printed that says, counter target instant or sorcery spell, create a token that's a copy of that spell, like there's no trigger. You'd have to have a trigger for that, right? It could be something like 0 mana, counter target instant or sorcery spell, which would be busted, of course. And so, like, this is one of those things where I'm saying, this effect doesn't exist. This is an illegal card. And it gets your wheels turning in your brain about, like, how could you make this card? Oh, yeah, this is a thing that says counter target instant or sorcery spell, create a token that is an artifact with that name. It's a 1/1 artifact for whatever reason. I don't know why it's a... Maybe it's a 1/1 creature artifact sliver. Named the spell that got countered. For whatever reason. That's its name. Which says, like, mana cost, and, like, which says you may spend mana of its mana value to activate its otherwise card text. I have no idea how you would word that, and it's definitely something you would, like, reduce to reminder text because it's so complicated to put on a card. Like, this doesn't function. I'm not trying to say this functions. Does not function. But you can imagine a world where they printed a card that did something like this, and it would be a really janky way of, like, formatting the text. And so, like, okay? Anyway, I went a little bit too deep into how that card is interesting, but isn't going to work. We do not have an even distribution of colors. Wish us luck. This is such a cool spell if it functioned. It's in 100% definitely broken. It's just down here at the bottom. Okay. Draw Down is a 3-mana blue instant that says counter target instant or aura spell. If it's an instant, exile it. Okay. It's a 2-mana spell that can... A 2-mana counter spell that can only target instants and auras. Not even enchantments, but auras. And if it happens to be an instant, it gets exiled. That seems totally reasonable to me. Aether Tunnel is a 3-mana artifact. Tap 4 colorless. 1 tap, sacrifice Aether Tunnel. Search your library for up to 2 artifact cards. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. Huh. It's a little expensive, but... yeah. I like that. Tutor up some artifacts. Whip Flare is a 4-mana Azorius instant. Creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Draw a card. That is far overcosted, but oh well. I think we have an Azorius already, right? Where's our Azorius? Oh, there it is. I almost thought we didn't have one. There we go. Nissa Vital Force is a 2-mana sliver. Nissa's also been infected by slivers! This is like the new version of like what's currently going on in Magic is the whole like Phyrexian invasion thing where it's like completing planeswalkers. They're becoming slivers. This is the Vital Force of Nissa in sliver form. This is a 2-mana white sliver. It's a 1/1. I don't know why Nissa's a white sliver, but whatever. I think she's green-white in some sets, right? You may play lands and cast spells as though they had flash. Which means you may cast them anytime you could cast an instant. That's correct. When Nissa, Vital Force, enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This card's good. It counts as a sliver. It's not too expensive for its stats. It gives an interesting bonus. You may play lands as though they had flash is cool. Do we have precedent for that? Is that a thing? I don't think that makes sense, because flash means you may cast them anytime you can cast an instant, and you don't cast lands. So, I think that just... yeah, your lands... It does say you may play lands as if they had flash, though. Which is like... It doesn't say your lands gain flash, which would mean nothing, because a land having flash wouldn't mean anything. But I guess it's saying as though they had flash, and if they had flash, it would mean nothing. Whatever. It doesn't do anything. I don't think it breaks the card either, though, but interesting. Rakdos Charm. Don't we already have a Rakdos Charm? That feels real. 1 mana red instant. It says choose one. A target creature gets +1/+0. Target creature gets -1/-0. Or destroy target artifact. You know what? It's not good, but I could totally see it getting run just for, like, the artifact removal. It's, you know, fringe upsides. It's pretty cheap, too. Icing is a 2-mana black instant that says destroy target creature. Its controller loses 1 life. That's just good. Yeah, alright. Master of Steel is a 3-mana human wizard. It's a 1/1 with Death Touch. Whenever Master of Steel... Did I say that it was a... Is it? It's an is it. Human wizard. Whenever Master of Steel deals combat damage to a player, you may exile the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Exile it only if it has a destructible. What is that final line? What does that mean? Like, what do I do with that information? That's not true. That's just a thing you said. Okay, let's imagine that this isn't reminder text. It just says exile it only if it has indestructible. What does that mean? Whenever Master of Steel deals combat damage to a player, you may exile the top card of your library. First of all, this text should be up there if that's the case. I don't know. If that card isn't a creature card, you may cast it. And then it goes on to say, exile... I don't know what to say about that, right? I want to just blank that text, but I don't want to be the one to decide that that is the correct ruling. This card is cool, though. I like this card. Aeon Sliver is a 3-mana sliver. All sliver creatures have Shroud. Hey, we already have that effect. Let me just double check this isn't the same card, because duplicates can exist. What's it called? Aeon Sliver? Aeon Sliver, Aeon Sliver. I don't think that was the name of it. I think that was something else. Oh, wow. It was Thought Leech Sliver and Leech Sliver. Beautiful. Okay. Well, there definitely was already a card that gave things Shroud, but it wasn't a blue card named Aeon Sliver. It's not 3-mana 1/3 that gives things Shroud. It's pretty cool. They can't be the target of spells or abilities. Good. That's correct. That's what that means. Gungast Sliver is a 2-mana red sliver. It's a 1/1. All slivers get +1/+1. Great. We needed that effect in red. We have it in, I think, white and green so far. 1 mana sacrifice a sliver. Oh, any sliver. Gungast Sliver deals 1 damage to any target. Okay. Yeah, that's repeatable kill and a really like a cheap sack outlet that doesn't require tapping. That's a cool card. Wait, I put that in the wrong pile. I did. Divinity Charm is a 1-mana blue instant. Choose 1. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. Counter target activated or triggered ability. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. I love this spell. This spell is great. I think putting counters on each thing you control is good, but often is still is hard to justify a spell in your deck. So maybe this card's definitely too cheap, honestly. But other than that, I like the design. I think that having combining a counter spell with a pump like that is a really nice space, so that they both feel like you can justify putting them in your deck. I like it a lot. Agar Sambir is a 5-mana Azorius human soldiers. The Azorius are they're trying to deal with this, huh? Yeah. 5-mana 3/4 human soldier with protection from artifacts. I think that's real. Creatures you control have vigilance. Okay. Creatures your opponents control can't have artifact spells cast on them. So I don't think that artifact spells are ever cast on creatures. But if they did, let's call it future-proofing for when they do print artifact instants. Okay, cool. Because an artifact can, target a creature, but it wouldn't be a spell, right? It would be a permanent that then has an activated, a triggered ability, like an Enter the Battlefield or an equip cost or something. Serpent Sliver is a 1-mana white sliver. It's a 1/1 with all sliver creatures have vigilance. Love it. I haven't run into any duplicates yet, actually. Or I haven't noticed. Mycosynth Sliver is a 3-mana artifact creature sliver. It's colorless. It is a 2/2, and it says Sliver creatures you control have tap, add colorless. I like this card actually a lot. Giving all of your creatures like tap for mana can be really, really intense. Making it colorless makes it a little bit more manageable. Also, making it colorless is cool because it puts it into the it's a colorless spell that does it, so it's not like one faction is getting dramatically more power than another. I like this card. I think the card's cool. Rage Stag is a 3-mana Goblin Warrior. Oh, I like this card so far. This is fun. It's a 3/2 with Trample. Not bad. Whenever Rage Stag deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it at end of combat. If you do, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Huh. This isn't terrible. It is a trampler, so it's actually decently likely that it'll like get blocked by a 2/2 and then do damage to their face and then get sacrificed. But like that's not terrible. You killed a 2/2, you did 1 damage to face, and then you got to return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. Also, like, can it be itself? Right? I think it can, because it gets sacrificed, and then you return something. I'm not sure if that's true or not, and probably you wouldn't want to, right? You're going to use this as a way of tutoring out a creature from your graveyard to your hand, right? That's probably what you do with this. I like it. I'm noticing that we are getting a little bit late in the stream. And we still have 229 cards to go. I have not gone through even 100 of our 300 cards. So I think we're going to have to call the stream there, unfortunately. And I'll simply have to tell you how it went afterwards. I'm glad you got to see the forging process because it's important to me that these cards are like... It's important to me that the set is like its own block unit thing. And it's not that I went, ooh, I'm going to swap out this card for a card that I like, or I'm going to like change the rules from this thing to that thing. And I guess technically you're just going to have to take my word for it because all of these cards I haven't gone through yet, right? So, you're just going to have to take my word for it that I'm not doing that, I guess, but whatever. Well, I hope someone was able to get something out of this. I hope you were able to enjoy. And I will catch you next time. I don't know what we're doing next week, but I am excited for whatever it happens to be. So with that all said, have a good night, everyone. I've been DarcyBits. This has been forging an entire new set using Urza's AI. And I'm really excited to play with this set when we eventually do finish it up. Have a good night, everybody. I'll catch you next time.